Their presence echoed with insidious delight, the sharp crack of a whip, the shrill bark of a dog, the contemptuous sneer of a woman's lips. These were sounds that once reverberated through the chambers of horror. Welcome back, everyone. Today we delve into a grim chapter of World War II history that is rarely discussed, the brutal retribution faced by the women of the SS. If you're not already a subscriber, consider joining our growing family. Like, share, and subscribe. By 1945, the walls of Nazi Germans were crumbling and the end was drawing near. Still, these women remained undeterred. Unfazed by the approaching Soviet army, they continued issuing commands, barking orders, and carrying out the twisted rituals of sadism. They were the SS women. As the men faltered and the system buckled, these women seemed to revel in the chaos. Yet what was life like after the fall of the Third Reich? What awaited these women who had once commanded fear and obedience? After the collapse of the Nazi regime, many of these SS women sought refuge in the shadows, abandoning their posts, discarding their uniforms, and attempting to blend into the fading remnants of society. However, the stench of their deeds followed them relentlessly, proving impossible to erase. Whispers traveled fast, survivors recounted tales of the women who had overseen unspeakable horrors, and soon the echoes of their misdeeds reached the ears of the Soviet forces. As the Red Army advanced, rumors swirled about the fate of the SS women. Many feared they would face the same demise as their male counterparts, meeting their end at the hands of vengeful soldiers. The reality, however, proved far more complex. Captured SS women were initially held in makeshift detention facilities, enduring harsh conditions alongside their male counterparts. The brutality of war left little room for gender-specific treatment, and for a time they were all regarded as enemies deserving of suspicion and mistreatment. But as the dust of battle settled, a more systematic approach emerged. It soon became apparent that the Soviet authorities intended to deal with these women differently. They were subjected to a series of interrogations and investigations, often based on the accounts of survivors. Accusations ranged from overseeing killings to directly participating in acts of violence. The complexities of these charges, coupled with the sheer number of individuals involved, made the process both lengthy and intricate. These investigations frequently relied on the testimony of survivors. Many of these individuals had endured unimaginable horrors, yet their first-hand accounts provided crucial details about the activities of the SS women. Specific incidents, the names of victims, and the extent of the women's involvement were all documented meticulously. The aim was to establish not just the fact of their participation in Nazi atrocities, but also the nature and extent of their involvement. Some SS women faced show trials, which were dramatic events revealing their crimes. Other cases were handled discreetly, the evidence gathered and the trials conducted behind closed doors. Yet regardless of the approach, every case was marked by the gravity of the accusations and the potential severity of the consequences. And then came the sentences, a spectrum of punishments that ranged from imprisonment to execution. Imprisonment, often in remote locations, was intended to isolate these women from society, forcing them to confront the magnitude of their actions in solitude. The death penalty, however, was equally swift and merciless. Carried out primarily by firing squads, it ensured a dramatic and undeniably severe punishment for those found guilty. However, the impact of these trials extended beyond the individuals involved. They served as stark reminders of the Third Reich's atrocities, underscoring the depth of cruelty that had permeated even its administrative ranks. Each trial was a public spectacle, a testament to the horrors of the Nazi regime and a warning to those who might contemplate such atrocities in the future. The trials of the SS women were a pivotal moment in the post-war era, marking a significant step in holding perpetrators of Nazi atrocities accountable. They were not merely legal proceedings, but a societal reckoning, a confrontation with the darkness that had gripped Germany during the Third Reich. Yet in the face of such grim tidings, a handful of SS women managed to evade capture. Many slipped through the cracks of history, disappearing into obscurity. Their names were never recorded, their deeds never fully investigated. Others fled, escaping to neutral nations or even forging new identities within Germany itself. Some survivors claimed that certain influential figures actively aided these women, facilitating their disappearances with bribes or forged documents. Yet the exact extent of such assistance remains shrouded in mystery, regardless of their fates. One thing is clear: the trials of the SS women were a pivotal moment in post-war justice, ensuring that the darkest chapters of Nazi Germany would not be forgotten. With the trials concluded and their fates determined, the SS women were led away to face their punishments. Some were escorted to prison cells, their steps heavy with dread. Others stood before firing squads, their lives hanging in the balance. This marked the culmination of a terrifying ordeal, the consequences of their choices finally catching up with them. As they were led away, crowds often gathered, their faces a mixture of anger and grim satisfaction. These women, once symbols of unchallenged authority and unimaginable cruelty, were now reduced to mere captives, their power and influence evaporated. The scenes were a stark contrast to the atrocities they had committed, a public reversal of roles that underscored the gravity of their crimes. For those led to prison cells, confinement meant isolation, introspection, and a confrontation with the weight of their actions. Within the cold, stark walls of their cells, many grappled with the realization of their crimes. The echoes of their past deeds followed them relentlessly, offering no respite, no escape. Meanwhile, for those facing execution, the moments before the firing squad were fraught with tension and terror. The cold stare of the rifles, the disciplined posture of the soldiers, all served as stark reminders of the finality of their fate. Some showed remorse, some defiance, while others succumbed to paralyzing fear. In the end, as the trials concluded and punishments were carried out, a sense of closure, albeit a somber one, settled over the onlookers. Justice, however harsh and final, had been served. Following the war, many wondered what would become of the captured SS women. Some hoped for swift and severe retribution, demanding justice for the atrocities committed. Others advocated for thorough trials, ensuring that every crime was accounted for and every perpetrator brought to justice. There were even calls for leniency, albeit a minority voice, arguing for rehabilitation and understanding. However, the ultimate course of action was a combination of these perspectives. The desire for swift retribution was balanced with the need for due process, and the call for leniency was tempered by the gravity of the crimes committed. In the aftermath of the war, as the dust settled and the world began to heal, the fate of these women remained a topic of debate and discussion. Their actions had shocked the conscience of humanity, and the question of how to deal with them became a complex ethical and legal dilemma. Some argued for exile, believing that removing them from society was the best way to ensure they could never repeat their crimes. Others pushed for lengthy prison sentences, emphasizing the need for punishment and deterrence. The debate raged on, seeking a resolution that could bring a sense of closure to a traumatized world. Today, as we reflect on this dark chapter of history, the legacy of these women continues to intrigue and disturb us. Their actions serve as a reminder of the depths of cruelty to which humans can sink and the importance of holding such atrocities accountable. Whether through historical accounts, documentaries, or fictional portrayals, their stories continue to captivate our attention. It's essential to remember these women not only for the horrors they inflicted, but also for the victims they left in their wake. Their actions had real and lasting impacts on countless lives, and we must acknowledge that suffering in our remembrance, and let us not forget the resilience of the human spirit, despite the horrors they endured. Many survivors of the SS women's actions went on to rebuild their lives. Their strength and determination offer a beacon of hope, reminding us of our capacity to endure and overcome even the darkest of times. Ultimately, the legacy of the SS women remains a haunting reminder of a dark period in human history. Their story compels us to confront the depths of cruelty and the importance of seeking justice and healing in the face of unimaginable atrocities. As we continue to learn from this painful past, we must also strive to create a better future, ensuring that such horrors are never repeated.